A very good afternoon to all the students and a warm welcome to one and all present today for the online lecture of third year BCom semester 5 for the subject Business Administration. Students, in the previous lecture, we had started with the discussion on the fourth chapter of Unit 1 that talked all about capital structure. We have understood the meaning of capital structure, and I also explained you the different characteristics of an ideal capital structure. Today, I shall be giving you a quick recap of whatever we did in the previous lecture, and thereby we shall begin with a new topic today that shall talk all about the different factors affecting the capital structure. So, students, to begin with the meaning of capital structure, I very well explained you that in the previous chapter of capitalization, where you actually studied all about the total capital requirement in a firm. Capital structure, on the other hand, in this chapter would explain you the sources from where the same capital has to be acquired. Not only that, even the proportion in which it has to be acquired. The financial plan told us two things. First, to estimate the capital requirement, and secondly, to find out the sources from where the funds can be raised. So, a structure that is showing you the different sources, the different securities from where the funds are to be raised, and its relative proportion was nothing but a capital structure. So we had understood a definition given by Justin Berg, who very clearly mentioned that capital structure is nothing but the makeup of the capitalization of a company. When I say capitalization in the third chapter, you have already understood that it is the total capital being employed in the business to run it smoothly. So, if I talk about the makeup of that same capitalization, that is to say, how it has been formed, which securities have been issued to raise the finance, and what is the proportion of each security, it is known as capital structure. I showed you the different sources that could comprise of the capital structure. So if this entire circle is your capital structure, it shows you the different sources, the different proportion of securities from where the funds could be raised. It could be from equity, it could be from preference, could be the debt funds, that is to say the borrowed funds, could be the other sources as well. So when the entire capitalization shows you the securities from where the funds are raised and its relative proportion, it is nothing but a capital structure. So it was an illustration of capital structure that I had shown you. I also showed you the possible sources, the securities from where the funds could be raised. So it could be equity, it could be preference, could be debt, could be a combination of equity and debt, preference and debt, or a mixed combination of equity, preference, as well as the debt or the borrowed funds. So I hope you remember this much. Students, thereafter we understood the different characteristics of a capital structure, of an ideal capital structure, in which I explained you that a capital structure should be a simple one, because a simple capital structure becomes very easy to manage. When I talk about a simple capital structure, we are talking about a structure with few number of securities. It should not be the one having too many securities and thereby making it quite complex. You need to make it simple in order to give you enough scope to raise funds in future. Not only that, it should also not create any sort of suspicion, confusion in the minds of investors as well. Number two, a capital structure should be a balanced one, that is to say, a balance between the proportion of the relative securities being issued to raise the finance. Of course, the proportion depends upon the nature of business, the size of business, the financial requirements, and whatnot. But generally, it is acceptable that the owner's funds should be more, that is to say, at least more, or I can say even twice than the borrowed capital. Because the more amount of borrowed funds a company holds, the more will be the burden of payment of interest as well as fixed dividend. So in order to avoid that sort of financial trouble, one should have more of owners' funds rather than the borrowed funds. Whatever the case may be, it should be a balanced capital structure. Number three, the capital structure should also provide enough liquidity, that is to say, should have enough liquidity to meet with the current liabilities as and when they arise. Number four, capital structure should be a one which is flexible. So I had explained you that it should leave enough scope of raising the funds whenever required and even returning the funds in case they are no longer required in the business. When I say the funds should be able to be returned, I mean to say they could be redeemable preference shares, they could be redeemable debentures, which could be redeemed, which could be returned if the money is not required. Because unnecessarily overcapitalization will also result into a financial burden for the company, which is also not a welcomed situation. So a capital structure should also be flexible. Students, number five, we studied that a capital structure should be able to provide against the future contingencies also. We are talking about some unforeseen events, some uncertainties that may arise in future. So even a capital structure should be such that provides enough to meet with these contingencies as well. It is only then can the business survive in this environment. Number six, capital structure has to be economical as well. That is to say, it should leave a scope of raising funds at a minimum cost, thereby making the maximum utilization of the same. One needs to compare the cost of raising the finance and thereby decide the security, the source from where the same has to be raised. Number seven, a capital structure has to be consistent as well. So I had told you that it should be consistent with the objectives of business unit, whether a long-term objective, that is to say the fixed capital requirement, or a short-term objective, basically the working capital requirement, whether it is to be raised to meet with the day-to-day expenses or the long-run expense of a business enterprise. Whatever the case may be, your capital structure has to be consistent with the same. And lastly, a capital structure has also to be sound, meaning to say it should not affect the financial soundness of the company. In any case, there should be enough cash inflow to meet with the required cash outflow. So students, I hope that I was clear with whatever we had done in the previous lecture. To sum up the discussion on capital structure, I can just mention one thing, that if the total amount of capital was capitalization, the sources from where the funds would be raised and its proportion would be nothing but capital structure. So I hope that you are clear with the concept of capital structure, the different characteristics. Students, now in today's lecture, the focus shall be to understand a new topic altogether, that is to say, the factors affecting capital structure. Meaning to say, we are going to talk about few factors that would affect the sources from where the funds would be raised. These factors would be affecting whether the funds would be raised from the ordinary shares, that is to say, the equity shares, or it will be raised through preference shares, debentures, or any other borrowed source of funds. If you had attended the second chapter, financial planning, even at that time we had understood some factors affecting financial plan. Similarly, we would be understanding the different factors which are going to affect even the capital structure. I very well told you that capital structure is the makeup of capitalization. It shows us the securities from where the funds would be raised, and it also shows us the relative proportion of the same. I also showed you in the diagrammatic form. So same ways we would now study the different factors which would affect these securities and would affect the proportion in which it has to be raised. So let us understand those factors one by one, students. Number one, the factor that is affecting capital structure is the nature of business. Now, when I talk about the nature of business, I mean to say whether the business is a stable one, having a regular, fixed, or a steady income, or the business is a risky one which has irregular income, and income which is not steady. So, in case the nature of business is such where the business is able to earn a fixed and a regular income, it can definitely rely on raising funds through debentures or even preference shares. Why? Because debentures are to be given a fixed rate of interest and preference shares demand fixed rate of dividend. So, in case you have a regular income, you can easily bear with this financial burden of fixed interest and dividend. But on the other hand, if your business is quite risky, the earnings are quite unstable, in that case, it is better to rely on the ordinary shares, that is to say, equity shares, because it is not compulsory to pay dividends on them. So, I hope you understood the first one. Students, the second factor that you see, a very easy one yet important, the money market conditions. Now, money market conditions you are already aware of. It could be a boom period, while on the other hand, could be a depression phase also. When there is a boom period going on, the customers, the investors are inclined more towards expectations of high dividend. And that is the phase where one can go for raising the funds through equity shares. Because during boom period, the investors are preferring more income rather than their safety of income. But on the other hand, when there is depression phase going on, the investors become safety seekers. They want safety of income. They want fixed interest or fixed dividend as a return. So in that case, they would be investing more in debentures or preference shares rather than the equity shares. So it goes without saying that during boom period, one should raise the funds through equity shares, while during the depression, one can go for debentures or preference shares. Students, number three that you see, stability of earnings. Now, this is something I already talked about earlier also. When your earnings are stable, when your earnings are fixed and regular, you have no risk pertaining to the stability of earnings. In that case, issue more of preference shares and debentures because then you could be able to bear with the burden of fixed interest, fixed dividend. But on the other hand, when your company earnings are not stable, it is quite unstable and risky, irregular income going on, income that is not steady, go for equity shares to a large extent because they won't demand fixed dividends. It is not compulsory to pay dividends on the equity shares. So it is better to go for equity in case your earnings are not stable. And if it is quite stable, quite steady, go for preference shares and debentures. Students, number four, the fourth factor talks about the capital requirement. This is also something we discussed earlier that when the capital requirement is quite small, if you are only in need of a smaller amount of capital, go for one or at least few type of securities. You could raise it directly from the equity shares and that's it. But in case you are requiring more amount of funds, your capital requirement is large enough, then in that case you can issue different type of securities. Could be debentures, could be preference shares, could be equity as well. Because in case you are not in need of much funds, try to keep your capital structure as simple as possible. So then go for only one sort of security. But on the other hand, when your capital requirement itself is large, go for more than one security. Students, number five, it talks about retaining the control. Now, this is a good point. I hope you are aware about a term voting rights. Voting rights are available only to one shareholder, that is to say, only the equity shareholders. These voting rights are not available to the debenture holders or they are not available even to the preference shareholders. So, when the existing management wants to retain control in their hands, when they want to keep the control, the management only in their hands, still want to raise the finance from the outside securities, they should go for debentures, they should go for preference shares, but not equity because they would demand voting rights and thereby would be sharing the control with the management. But on the other hand, when you don't want to retain the control with yourself, you are ready to part with it, divide it, you can go for equity rather than preference or debentures. Number six, the long term interest of the company. Now, this is something that you have to link with the second point that you have studied money market conditions. I explained to you in the second point that in case the market is of a boom period, the investors go for equity. In case it is depression, they go for debentures and preference shares. But think about the same scenario considering the long term interest of the company. During depression phase, investors prefer preference shares, they prefer debentures because they have a regularity of the dividend and interest. But on the other hand, the same is not good in the long term interest of the company. The company cannot face the financial burden of fixed interest or fixed dividend. And that is the reason capital structure is also affected by the long term interest of the company. Even that has to be taken into consideration to decide the sources, the securities from where the funds would be raised. I hope that you understood all the first six points of the factors affecting capital structure. You can have a look once again. I would give you some time. So students, I hope that you understood all the first six factors and how it affects the securities from where the funds can be raised. Moving on to the remaining six factors. Number seven, it talks about the nature of assets of the company. Now, you all might have heard about some secured loans. When I say secured loans, or I can say the secured borrowings, you have to even at times mortgage your assets, mortgage your fixed assets in order to get the loan, get the money from that particular source. So, in case the company has assets of high value, has fixed assets which can be mortgaged, in that case, they can go for debentures where mortgage has to play an important role while raising the finance, because after all debentures are secured loans. But on the other hand, when you don't have enough assets, you don't have assets of high value, or maybe your assets are quite fluctuating in nature, it is better to go for the ordinary shares or rely on the equity shares, because there you won't be demanded of any sort of mortgage of assets. Number eight, the general level of interest rates. This is also very simple. Now, as you know, that debentures have to be given a fixed rate of interest. On the other hand, the shareholders obtain dividend. So, in case the interest on debentures or in case the interest on any borrowed funds is higher, one can go for the issue of funds through shares. But in case the rate of interest is lower, one can raise the funds through debentures or any other borrowed funds. Because after all, whatever capital you raise has to be economical. It should be given to you at a least cost and thereby you making an optimum utilization of the same. Students, number nine talks about the attitude of investors. When I talk about attitude, we know there could be two attitudes basically for the investors. The investors could either be a risk taker, the investors could either be a safety seeker. When they are risk takers, they expect high dividends no matter whether they are given fixed or not. So they would rely more on the equity shares because they are preferring higher income rather than safety. But on the other hand, when they are safety seekers, they may not need higher income always, but they want their income to be safe and steady. And in that case, they rely more on debentures and preference shares because they know they would be getting a fixed interest. They know that they would get a fixed dividend respectively. So even the attitude affects the securities with which funds could be raised. Number 10 talks about the taxation policy of the government. Now, when I talk about the taxation policy, accountancy, you have already studied about how interest on debentures is a tax deductible expense. The tax liability could be saved on the interest that is paid to the debenture holders. So in case the company is already paying high taxes on its high profits, in case it wants to save a bit out of it, in that case, it can go for issuing debentures to raise the funds so that the interest on debentures becomes a tax deductible expense, and for that extent at least the tax burden could be reduced. So it is better to go for debentures rather than issuing shares. Number 11, the cost of financing. As I said, you have to raise the finance in the most economical manner, and the cost of financing depends from security to security. In case we are talking about the cost, I can say that the equity shares are considered to be relatively more costly as compared to debentures or any other security, because you need to incur expense on advertisement, you need to even incur expenses such as payment of brokerage, underwriting commission. So in that case, it becomes quite expensive. If you want to save yourself from this high expense, you can go with debentures, which necessitates quite low expense. So you can go for that to raise the money rather than going for the equity shareholders. And last but not least, even the legal restrictions would affect the capital structure. That is to say, the companies would also have to comply with the legal provisions regarding the issue of different securities. They are also required to seek permission of, I can say, SEBI. They have to undergo the laws of even the Companies Act 2013, and like that there are many other restrictions imposed by law as well. So before they take a decision as to from where the funds would be raised and what proportion, even the legal restrictions, the laws have to be abided by. So students, I give you once more a time to look at all the factors we have discussed, have a glance at it once more, and try to recall what we have studied for all the factors. So students, we have studied the factors affecting capital structure, where I explained you about nature of business, whether the business has a regular income or irregular and not so steady income, whether it is a safe or a risky business. Number two, money market conditions. We discussed about the investors' criteria and the investors' requirement for the boom period and the depression phase, the stability of earnings, whether the earnings are stable or unstable, the capital requirement, whether they require less capital or more capital, whether control had to be retained or could be parted by with the equity shareholders, whether it is in the long-term interest of the company or not, what was the nature of asset, whether they were having assets of high value which could be mortgaged or not, general level of interest rates, whether the interest rates are higher or not, attitude of investors, whether they are risk takers or they are safety seekers, taxation policy of government, that is to say, taxes could be saved on the interest of debentures, otherwise not. The cost of financing, whether we should go for equity, but it is highly costly. So you could also go for debentures on the other hand. And lastly, the legal restrictions affecting the capital structure, the sources from where the funds would be raised. So students, I hope that you very well understood all the different factors that we have understood today affecting capital structure, affecting the sources from where the funds would be raised and in which proportion. We have revised the characteristics of an ideal capital structure once again. I showed you the possible sources from where the funds could be raised. I also showed you the capital structure and illustration of the same, showing you the different sources and the proportion of each source. The meaning I gave you again a revision of. So students, I hope that you understood whatever we did today. This is just the beginning of the fourth chapter, capital structure. You may please read the notes that have been provided to you for the first three chapters, because we shall be conducting a quiz very soon. That is to say, probably in this week or in the next week, definitely you will be having a quiz on the first three chapters that we have discussed. So keep reading, And in case you have any doubts whatsoever, feel free to ask them in the Google Classroom. I shall be more than happy to answer them at the earliest. See you soon in the next lecture, where we shall be conducting topics ahead in the fourth chapter. That is to say, we would be studying something more on capital structure. So, thank you so much for the day, students. And until then, happy learning.